This illustration covers the regulations for dwelling units, NEC 220.14J. Again, the purpose of change is a revision. This revision was made to relocate the minimum unit of 3 VA per square foot for one in two family dwellings and multiple family dwellings to 220.14J. The ASHRAE Energy Code 90.1, the table incorporates dwelling unit lighting loads at approximately 1.0 watts per square foot. The long-standing NEC calculation of 3 VA for dwelling units and applications, which includes general-purpose receptacle loads, has been used successfully for many years, and lowering this value should have unintended consequences. Therefore, it has been retained that we would keep the 3 VA per square foot, but relocate it from our table 220.12 to section 220.14J. And again, motors rated less than 1/8 horsepower, which is important, is connected to the lighting load circuit, which is a 3 VA per square foot, and it's included in the general lighting load. These loads are very small loads and can be safely served using the unit loads as demonstrated by the long history of really using the 3 VA per square foot that designers would use for dwelling units. And it gives you a little bit of a cushion there for the dwelling unit and users of the dwelling unit. Now, notice we have outlets for the attic. 210.70 regulates that. We would have outlets controlled by a wall switch at the door entry and hallways, outlets controlled by a wall switch in habitable rooms. And you know, we looked at the rules over there where some of that may be controlled by electronic type switches, remote switches and so forth. Is now permitted. And then the crawl spaces, we looked at those. We looked at the receptacles in the basement and those rules when it was required, finished or unfinished. Outlets in attached garage or detached garage, we looked at all of that and kind of come up with these rules. So when you look at this rule here, all we're doing is calculating the general lighting load, which would include all lights, units, all receptacles except the small appliance circuits and direct circuits, which your inspector is going to divide into those 3 type loads. Now, let's look at the calculation. We said over here we had 2,800 square foot dwelling unit. 220.11 would list what's included in this calculation. And then step 1, we go to 220.11 and get the area that has to be included in the 3 VA. We go to 220.14J to pick up the 3 VA per square foot. And in step 2, we do the math. So we do 3 VA times 2,800. We come up with 8,400 VA. Now, notice the number of circuits. You could take the 8,400 VA, divide it by 120 volts. And if you were using a 20 amp circuit, that would be 2,400 into 8,400. And that'd give you the number of circuits just for the general lighting load. But the general lighting load, when calculated, is 8,400 VA. For non-dwelling units, commercial and industrial, see your table that we looked at, and that would be your table 220.12. But now if you want to take and say you had, for example, a 4-aught conductor required, and you knew it was 4-aught after you did your math and everything and used your 310.12 section, then you could go to your table 310.12 here, and for a 4-aught you could reduce it to a 3-aught. So you want to look at table 310.12 and select your size conductor, and then just select one below that and you have your calculation done. And notice this table still applies to a standard calculation or an optional calculation to determine the amperage of a dwelling unit to select your conductors.